it's Jameson with Advanced Test Equipment. Today we're going to look at the Pacific Power 3500 AZX, which is both an AC and DC power supply and load. Let's check it out. Here on the initial screen of the AZX, we are able to program the voltage source output for both AC and DC voltage as well as frequency. We have the unit set to 120 volts here with a 15 amp current limit as well as a 51.75 power limit. To see more measurements, you can click here where we can see we're currently drawing 1 amp on our load. And to get more in-depth measurements, you can click the measurement button. Here we have the ability to look at the real-time scope of the voltage and current waveform. You can change the channels that you're looking at here. And we'll go back to the measurement screen where we can also check out harmonics for both voltage and current. And that's what it looks like here in real time. To set voltage or current limits, you can click the protection button, in which we can see we can enable current protection, power protection, as well as under and over voltage limits and frequency limits. In this demo, we won't need to do that. We can also configure the harmonics on the output of the voltage source at this menu. We can pick between percentage of nominal voltage, or we can pick the actual voltage itself, as well as the frequency, phase, and you can change up to 5 of the harmonics. If we go back, we'll click Escape. We can also change the settings for the analog inputs. At this setting here, we can select up to 4 different channels and configure the voltage range of these inputs for applications that involve hardware in the loop. In this case, we do not have anything connected, so our input voltage is reading 0. To change the configuration of the AZX, we will click this button here, in which we can see we can change the operating mode. We can also change the output from single phase to split phase to 3-phase. We'll leave it in single phase now. We can also change the voltage range between low and high, which would be a difference between 225 volts AC from 440 volts AC. You can also change it to be an AC and DC output, or just one or the other. The sense can also be hooked up externally if needed. We're going to use it as internal. And there's also another page of settings that can be used here. While we are drawing a load on our voltage source, we can configure certain waveforms in the transient menu here. Here we have a single step waveform that we can see the parameters for by clicking enter. We're going to be doing a 7-second dip on our 120 volt waveform to 40 volts. After updating the settings, we need to click debug, and then we are able to run. And now we can see that the waveform has dropped to 40 volts AC and is now back to 120 volts AC. We're going to change the operating mode now from voltage source, not to current source, but to active load. And we cannot do that with the output enabled, so we'll disable the output. And now we will set to active load. Here in active load mode, we can see that most of our settings are similar to the voltage source mode, except for load type, which you can select between constant current, constant resistance, constant power, and circuit emulation. We'll leave the unit in constant current mode. In this case, we do not currently have a voltage source hooked up, and so we're unable to sync frequency. So we'll turn that off here. But in this menu, you can select the loading current in AC or DC, as well as the phase that you will be loading. And you can also set your power limits and voltage limits here. And to see more measurements while your unit is in AC load mode, you click the measurement button and you can see a variety of measurements here, as well as on the next few screens. Here's the input terminal block for the AZX for our 480 3-phase, an extra grounding terminal posts. Our output terminal block, in this case we have the neutrals jumpered together. We also have our external remote sense terminal block if you're going to use external sensing cables. And over here we have the ability to parallel multiple AZX units together for higher power. We also have our custom IOs that can be used for the hardware in the loop applications. And then we have our GPIB, Ethernet, and USB interfaces. Thanks for watching our video on the 3500 AZX. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us at atecorp.com.